Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Khalid. Today is the 15th of April 2025. These are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin with the US weapons that were left by the US after its exit from Afghanistan and that are being used consistently since then against interests in the region, against Pakistan specifically. Many a times, whether it be the Jafar Express incident, whether it be other incidents, have we found proof of the weapons that were left by US in Pakistan that were used by the militants, by the terrorists in their heinous attempts to destabilize Pakistan. That has time and again been also said by Pakistan. Now this time the Washington Post takes out an article detailing all of that, and of course the different perspectives from the Pakistani side and the US side as well. It also highlights what Trump has been saying all along, that it wants these weapons back, these billions of dollars of weaponry back. This and more is going to be discussed in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the UN peacekeeping meeting that has begun in Islamabad today. It's a two-day meeting. This is in partnership with the Republic of Korea, and this two-day United Nations peacekeeping ministerial preparatory meeting is going to be the precursor for the meeting that is going to be held in Germany in May. It's very important because Pakistan has been one of the leading peacekeeping forces of the UN and has contributed many a times in the past decades. This is going to be our second story. Then we are going to talk about Donald Trump, who has frozen $2 billion worth of funding for the Harvard University after the Harvard University rejected the demands that had been put forward by the Trump administration, and that was of course regarding what they call anti-Semitism and what the Harvard University administration says is against their policies. There have been other incidents in the past with other universities that have complied with the demands, but this time Harvard has put its foot down, and that is why the $2 billion US dollars freeze that has happened as far as the Harvard University is concerned. Finally, we are going to talk about Toronto's 4th annual mass pillow fight that saw friends and total strangers walloping each other and dancing as they let off steam and relieve their childhood memories. We all have done that in the past. We've all done that as children. The pillow fighting is something that happens almost in every household. Anyways, this is something that was more on a public level. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the US weapons left in Afghanistan and the repercussions that Pakistan is seeing in the wake of all the incidents that it has been involved in, and it has been the victim of in the last couple of months and years. We've been joined by three guests. Let me introduce them to you one by one. In the studios, we've been joined by Ahsan Hamid Durrani. He's the Director of Policy Research Center. Thank you very much, Ahsan, to have joined us. Pleasure to see you after a long time. Online, we've been joined by Mariam, who's a journalist who joins us from the US, as well as Lieutenant General Raza Muhammad Khan Saab, who is a defense analyst and a regular in our show as well. We welcome the both of you online because it's a very important topic. We'll begin with you, Ahsan. Ahsan, billions of dollars worth of US military equipment provided to Afghan forces is abandoned when they withdraw or exit from Afghanistan, and this is now being continuously used by the Afghan militants, the Afghan terrorists against Pakistan. This is now confirmed also in a Washington Post article that came out very recently. Many analysts say that Pakistan risks falling back into the terrible period between 2009 and 2014 when the country was a major magnet for terrorism. How important is the timing of the report by Washington Times, and didn't these US weapons from Afghan war, in your point of view, give the militants a deadly advantage?
Yeah, I think there is a renewed interest in this topic. These weapons were there for the past 3 years due to the hasty and I would say a disastrous withdrawal of US forces under the Biden administration. But since Trump has said this in a number of meetings and some of his senior officials have pointed out towards retrieving those weapons, so now there is a renewed interest, and we have seen that big US publications are writing about it. But the Special Investigator General Office on Afghanistan Reconciliation has been reporting on this for the past 3 years, and they have pointed towards this fact that these weapons not only threaten regional peace and security, but can also fall into the hands of ISIS-K because a huge black market exists of these weapons. And it's, to be precise, it's according to the CIGAR report, it's $7 billion US weaponry. So it's open in the black market out for all these terrorist and insurgent groups to procure and to use against for their own interest against the neighbors of Afghanistan, which includes the primarily Pakistan, and then can also be threatened for can be posed as a threat to the Western countries as well, including all these big capitals. So it is a huge, threat to Pakistan. Pakistan has repeatedly discussed this with the US side as well, and of course the Afghan Taliban side as well, to at least regulate this black market, because we have seen in attacks led by the Fitnat al-Khawarij, formerly known as the TTP, and then by the BLA in the attacks in Balochistan, that advanced weaponry, night vision goggles, long-range snipers, weapons that even some reports our KP police have not been able to procure them because they are so high-end and so expensive. Those terrorists who have those weapons available to them at their disposal, and what we are seeing right now is a uptick in attacks because of these weapons at their disposal. So
All right.
yeah.
All right. General Raza, thank you very much to have joined us after a small hiatus. I'd like to understand about the weaponry, the number of weapons. The Washington Post report cites cigar and more than a quarter of a million weapons that have been left by the US, and it cites the numbers. Then the night vision goggles, which are in the I don't know how many hundreds of thousands as well. Half of Pakistan's military can be equipped with the equipment that has been left by the US. Isn't this alarming, to say the least?
I think what this Washington Post report has done is that it actually it has reconfirmed what the government of Pakistan has been telling the international community about the effect of all these weapons left by NATO. We do not need any one of these weapons, to arm the Pakistan armed forces. We have sufficient weapons of our own. But
it was just to tell you the number of weapons and how much we can equip if we had these weapons. It is just to make the people understand the number of weapons and how important this number is.
Yes, that is an important number, and the United States was claiming that it can equip, the entire Marine force of the United States. So let's keep it at that, and let's only know that the total value of all these weapons and equipment was $7 billion plus. That is only $1 billion less than the total trade of Pakistan, yearly trade with Pakistan with the United States. Also, this Washington Post report has been published by all the leading newspapers and the media outlets all over the world. Again, it has further highlighted, the concerns of not only Pakistan, the United States, some NATO countries, but all neighbors of Afghanistan. So I think that's a positive aspect. There is one aspect in this Washington Post report about which I think much has been left, and that is that they have made a mention of only, the black markets or the smuggling bazaars. That actually may be incomplete information. I think the Washington Post report should have also included a very authentic report of the United Nations that was made last year, where it concluded that the Afghan Taliban rank and file directly supply the outlawed groups, which includes all kinds of terrorists with weapons and equipment. So that is actually the reality on ground, and it is good that international community is taking notice of that, and it is also good that the US government at the highest level is trying to do something about it. I am not sure whether the proposal of retrieving those weapons from Afghanistan will be possible unless very clear incentives in the form of, let's say, recognition of the Taliban government, for the return of these weapons is made to them, or unless, serious disincentives in the economic, political, diplomatic domains are made known to them. If they continue these policies, the least that the Afghan government can do is that they disarm all the terrorist groups, because it is from them that Pakistan and the rest of the neighbors of Afghanistan, even NATO and the United States, is threatened. Now there are ways of doing this. I think that the United States cannot do it alone. Pakistan cannot do it alone. It has to be an international kind of effort. Pakistan has been trying to do that through the United Nations. I think the United Nations Security Council needs to pass clear resolution on the matter, whether it is under Chapter 6 or Chapter 7, which is a mandatory action, even for against those governments which are not recognized by the United Nations. And of course, in addition to that, if all that happens, then Pakistan will reserve the rights under again the United Nations Charter, Article 5, to do whatever is necessary to make sure that these terrorists are unable to use these weapons against Pakistan at least.
All right. Mariam, thank you also to have joined us all the way from the US. I'd like to understand what, in your point of view, in the wake of the revelations by the Washington Post, but does not come as a surprise to Pakistan, because Pakistan has been highlighting that since quite some time, and other reports like the Cigar report, like the United Nations reports have also, European Union has also taken out a report in this context. They highlight more or less exactly the same thing. But now that the Washington Post, which is a leading publication from the US, also highlights this in a very lengthy report, what should be the strategy from the Pakistani and the US side in your point of view?
Well, I think the immediate strategy must include three pillars. So there's the joint intelligence fusion, where Pakistan and the United States must establish some sort of mechanism to monitor where all of these weapons are tracing and to account for the arms. And then you have the counter-proliferation actions targeting and dismantling the arms bazaar. And then you have the policy pressure on Kabul, where the US and Pakistan needs to be on the same diplomatic front on maintaining the pressure on the Taliban to make sure that the government does not continue engaging with certain groups that could carry out such actions.
All right. I'll come back to you, General Saab, because I find this whole conversation that is emanating from the both of you quite interesting. Let's talk about the weapons bazaars. You highlighted those. You said they are also we need to add other aspects of the sale of the arms and the availability of the arms to all terrorist outfits from the TTP. That has also been confirmed. What can be done to stop or to pause the sale of such weaponry, in your point of view?
Well, I think when we talk of the sale of these weapons, again, this is not something new for Pakistan. When Afghanistan was occupied by the Soviet Union, then, the Kalashnikov culture was born, and most of these weapons were smuggled inside Pakistan. But in those days, I think the border control was not as effective or efficient as it is today, and we have a very robust kind of fencing system between the two countries. All that needs to be done is that border control at Torkham Chaman needs to be improved from our side. It also needs to be monitored by the Afghan government, and all other crossing points, the smaller crossing points, 7 or 8 of them, I think they should be permanently closed. All those people, Afghan traders or people coming to Pakistan, for medical treatment and others, they need to be thoroughly checked to ensure, that the facilities at Torkham and at Chaman are not misused by those people for the purpose of smuggling. If, there is a Bara Bazaar near Kohat, and that Bara Bazaar is, known for smuggled weapons, that is under surveillance. If there is any other, such place inside Pakistan, that I'm sure will also be looked after by the government. But the same action needs to be done by the Afghan government as well. But as I said earlier, more than that, I think if they are providing directly these weapons by the Afghan armed forces to the terrorists, then that is, a different story altogether. And I think the response to that I have actually outlined previously. And if worse comes to worse, what we will have to do is to take out the safe havens inside Afghanistan where these weapons may be stocked, and also to ensure that the logistic support provided to the terrorists both by the government of Afghanistan and India, the monetary or the financial support provided to them are denied to them or eliminated to them. And if there is any action like that, and I am talking of a cross-border action, then I think the interim government will be directly responsible for it. We have no enmity against the people of Afghanistan. If we take any action, a trans-border action that we were forced to take in the past, then I think the people of Afghanistan needs to understand that it was our compulsion, and they need to apply sufficient pressure on their own government to change their policies.
Mariam, coming to you, Zabihullah Mujahid, who's chief spokesperson of the Afghan interim government, says that these arms are now the property of Afghanistan and nobody can take them away from us, quote unquote. Abdul Mateen Kani, who's a spokesperson for the Interior Ministry of the Afghan interim government, says the weapons are in the control of the security forces and well guarded in the depot. When you see the same weapons in Pakistan used by militants against Pakistan in violent extremist terrorist incidents, doesn't that negate all the comments that have just been said? What's your take?
Well, I think that we need to understand that there is no safeguarding and that this is actually an international issue, and the fact that there has not been proper international reactions to this. There has always been dispute between Afghanistan and Pakistan regarding the counterattacks, but there needs to be mechanisms, and I think that this is where Pakistan needs to highlight where U.S. has been irresponsible and reacts to their withdrawal. And the Afghan government currently is pulling all strings to its possibility because they are on pretty much a survival strand. So whatever that they have, they're going to keep and they're going to use for their own benefits. How this needs to play out is how the international reaction will be and if anyone.
I understand, I can understand what you're trying to say, but when the same weapons that they say are under the guard of the Afghan forces are found in Pakistani territories used by Afghan militants, what does that bode as far as these comments are concerned? This is what I want to ask from you, understand from you.
You have to understand that this cannot be only directed at what's happening in Afghanistan. These weapons are not only directed from the Durrani line through Afghan government to whatever outlets that there are in Pakistan. There are other countries that are receiving certain weaponries and they're going within the region. The comments that the Taliban are making, I've told you, is superiorly for publication and for receiving more attention that they already have. And they're trying to show themselves as a proper government front. And this is not about whether they're safeguarding and holding it accountable. It's not about property. It's about accountability. And I think this is where Pakistan needs to really hold the U.S. accountable for this. I mean, we're focusing on the minute issue of certain comments and what people are saying, but you're not holding the actual source of the whole mechanism at play here. There is nobody questioning the U.S., especially from the Pakistan government side, putting a lot of pressure on it. And that's where I'm very confused about, because once somebody does hold them responsible, then you'll see a counter of other countries do the same, because there is an unhappiness with the U.S., how they're holding certain policies, upholding certain policies in all countries, not only what they did in Afghanistan.
All right. Ahsan, coming to you, the Afghan interim government's inability or the irresponsibility as far as handling weapons is evident through the recent incidents in Pakistan. That was what I was also asking Mariam. Our Foreign Office, our military establishment and our ISPR have confirmed the fact that these leftover weapons have caused the surge in terrorism in Pakistan. as these terrorists are not only outgunned in quality but also in the quality of such weaponry. And also to add to that is the fact that the Afghan territory is now a safe haven for the Fitna or the TTP and so many other such outfits. What needs to be done on a national, on a regional, on a global level to counter that?
I think on a national level, first of all, we need to fortify our borders, and border security needs to be our top priority. Our forces have done an excellent job by fencing the border in a very difficult terrain, and a lot of our soldiers have lost their precious lives during the fencing process, because it was not an easy process. Even during the fencing process, there were attacks, continuous attacks. We have seen that the border fence was removed, have been removed by previous administration. Now the Afghan Taliban local commanders have done that repeatedly as well. But I mean, that should be our top priority, to safeguard our borders, to safeguard our home. Then I think on the second level, of course, on the regional level, we need to build a consensus, especially among our neighbors, Iran, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, all those countries, including China, which shares border with Afghanistan, that look, this is a threat that is emanating. Right now it is on our doorsteps. Tomorrow it can be your doorsteps as well, because terrorism knows no religion, it knows no culture, no boundaries, no country, no nationality, no ideology. It is an ideology in itself, and a very dangerous one. So we need to build this regional consensus. We have all those regional platforms. SCO is one of the most potent. It has that RATS mechanism, regional anti-terrorism security mechanism, that we can leverage and we can mobilize for this particular issue of the leftover weapons and those weapons falling into the hands of the Fitnatul Khawarij against Pakistan. And globally, I mean, it's very important that I would back Ms. Wardak's comments that we need to pressure US into doing more on this front. I mean, we have seen President Trump making comments that they would want to retrieve those weapons, but I think it's mere rhetoric at this stage, and we have not seen any actionable policy outcomes of this statement. First of all, I think it's very difficult to do that unless US involves regional actors, I mean, including Pakistan, to start that retrieval process. And I think coming back to General Saab's comment, that if Afghan Taliban don't comply through diplomacy, through back channels, then I think there is no other option left for Pakistan to take out those hideouts, those stockpiles of weapons in Afghanistan. And I think we need to do that not unilaterally, but I think that action should also be taken in a consensus with our neighbors, with the US as well. So I think this should be a coordinated approach, and I think it's a very serious issue as this threat is escalating. The use of this weapon is we're seeing it in all different parts of. I mean, first it was the erstwhile FATA region. Now we are seeing it in Balochistan as well. So I mean, it is getting very dangerous and very difficult for our forces because of the sophistication of those weapons. So I think this is the approach that I would suggest Pakistan should take.
All right, General Saab, Donald Trump in March this year acknowledged Pakistan's contribution to thwarting terrorism when we handed over the main culprit of the Abbey Gate bombing of 2021, the ISKP's top tier operational commander Sharifullah, who is also an Afghan national. Donald Trump said, "I want to thank the Pakistani government for helping arrest this monster. It was a momentous day for the 13 families." On the one hand, Trump and his administration acknowledge and understand Pakistan's contribution to the war on terror and how Pakistan has been collaborating with the US. Pakistan has been a front state ally of the US in the decades that it was in Afghanistan. It continues to wage that war against terror even after the exit of Afghanistan, of US from Afghanistan. Do you feel the US realizes this?
Well, I think unfortunately, the Pakistan-US relationship has always been transactional, starting from the days when we were members of CETO and CENTO, and we've also been, unfortunately, one of the most sanctioned ally in the history of, I think, relations of the nation, which is unfortunate. And I think when the United States looks at some countries, including Pakistan, they are only looking at protecting and promoting their own interests. I think that policy needs to be revised, and they need to look at protecting and furthering the mutual interests of Pakistan and the United States and other of their partners. And once that approach is adopted, I think we'll be able to overcome some of the difficulties that we are facing now, whether it is from terrorists or from other problems. What the United States can do now is actually to support all actions that the government and the armed forces of Pakistan are undertaking to protect itself. What they can do is to directly apply their own influence and pressure on the Indian government, who are openly sponsoring and supporting the BLA terrorists, and they are even trying to maintain the nexus of all terrorists who are inside Afghanistan, whether it is TPP, BLA, ISIS, or the like. So I think that is the least that what the United States can do, and if they do that, I think the terrorists' main backers, I think, would have been warned, and that is going to make a difference. In addition to that, I think the Trump administration had dedicated, I think, over $300 million to continue the maintenance of the F-16 aircraft, which the PA has, and for which I think we had paid for the aircraft, as well as the maintenance was part of the payment. So it is good that they have not, I think, rescinded that kind of sort of money to support us, but they can do much more to increase, the capabilities, the fighting abilities of our CTD department of the police, our civil armed forces, in the form of their night vision goggles and devices, because the other sides.
Agree with Jalan Sahab, I agree with whatever you are saying, and I think it's high time that the world realizes and the US also realizes this. Mariam, my question to you will be the last one as far as this important topic is concerned, and I'm going to mix two or three things and I'm going to ask your opinion on this. Linkages of the TTP or the fitna as we call them with the Afghan interim government, whether they be ideological or cultural, have been quite evident. Also the facilitation that the TTP are being provided through the local intelligence setup such as the GDI to facilitate their crossover to Pakistan has also been established and has been proven through documentation that has been shared with other intelligence agencies. Suicide bombers who were behind many such incidents have also been confirmed to be of Afghan national. One amongst them I'll just like to highlight is the son of Maulvi Ghulam Muhammad Ahmadi, Deputy Governor of Baghdis province of Afghanistan. Our Interior Minister Mariam recently met with the acting ambassador of the US in Pakistan, Natalie Baker, and they discussed the action that Pakistan is taking against militants, and there was this desire to further counter-terrorism collaboration between both the countries. It was decided that there be a dialogue in June this year on counter-terrorism. Do you feel Pakistan can salvage the opportunity to make the US understand that it could again be an important ally and work towards thwarting all that is terrorism in the region together as partners?
Okay, well, let's break it down. Hopefully others can chime in as well. Let's talk about the world taking actions regarding TTP's evidence linkage to certain groups. I think that the evidence is no longer anecdotal, it's operational, and I think that from sharing training camps and logistical routes, it's quite evident that the TTP is not only tolerated, but it's facilitated by elements within Afghanistan. And I think classifying the TTP and its support network as an international terrorist entity is something that needs to go forward and hold the Afghan government accountable through these sanctions and conditions. And depending on how actionable intelligence, counterterrorism tools and cross-border coordination mechanisms are linked between the U.S. and Pakistan, that's policy discussions that need to be taken internally amongst them. And I think that based on all these discussions, all of us are well aware of how it needs to be moving forward. So the coercive diplomacy, the targeted strikes, the narrative of warfare. I mean, you need to coexist without cooperation of losing each other's allies, in addition to being extra careful with how you're engaging with your immediate neighbor.
I agree with you on that, and I think that Pakistan, I just wanted to reiterate, Pakistan has time and again asked the Afghan interim government to, to thwart out a strategy, and it has given its, evidence in that context. But we have yet to, have some kind of a positive response from the Afghan side as far as that is concerned. Let's hope for the best. Afghanistan is our neighborhood country. Afghanistan is a country that we revere. Afghanistan is a brotherly country, and we just hope we can, move towards a stronger relationship and take actions together, if possible, to thwart out such elements from the Afghan soil. Thank you very much, Mariam, to have joined us for this very important segment. I hope to see more of you in the coming days as well to highlight important topics regarding the region and the US. Thank you very much again, Mariam. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns the United Nations peacekeeping meeting that begins in Islamabad, has begun rather in Islamabad today. This is a preparatory meeting. The main meeting is going to be held next month in Germany. We continue to be to have with us our two guests, Ahsan Hamid Durrani, as well as Lieutenant General Raza Khan, with us to discuss this segment as well. I think it's a very important segment because Pakistan's contribution towards peacekeeping and through the peacekeeping forces has been very, very important, and they have had a very important role as far as the United Nations is concerned, and not only the United Nations but the world over. Pakistan has gained a very formidable repute as far as that is concerned. The meeting that is being held today and tomorrow is going to set the stage for the UN Peacekeeping Ministerial meeting to be held next month, as I said. Ahsan, coming to you. This meeting in partnership with the Republic of Korea is setting the stage for the meeting that is going to be held next month. How important is this meeting in your point of view in the current geopolitical scenario, and how does Pakistan's co-hosting of this meeting highlight its global leadership in peacekeeping efforts?
Yeah, I think Pakistan has over the years, over the decades, shown tremendous leadership qualities in terms of UN peacekeeping. We are one of the largest contributor to the UN peacekeeping mission. Almost 9% of our 9% of total UN deployments constitutes Pakistan's contribution. We have almost 8,000 some personnel working in different capacities in UN peacekeeping missions. So I think this meeting sets the stage and gives Pakistan the acknowledges Pakistan's contribution to the mission, and also sets the stage for the upcoming grand meeting coming up next month. Having said that, I mean, Pakistan's contribution to UN peacekeeping is of paramount importance, considering the events that are happening in the region. Pakistan efforts, not just in peacekeeping but in the war on terrorism, have been acknowledged by the world. The losses that we have faced, and despite of that, when the world powers have left Pakistan on our own, Pakistan still shows responsibility as a responsible state in the polity of nations, contributing to such missions in the United Nations. So I think it's a very important time for Pakistan to show that leadership.
All right. General Raza, thank you again for joining us for this important topic as well. This two-day preparatory meeting is going to have a series of panel discussions that have already begun. Some of them have happened. We'll discuss them a bit later. The future of peacekeeping, which includes discussions on evolving challenges to peacekeeping, role of technology, role of regional and cross-regional organization, the performance of the peacekeepers, and an integrated approach for sustainable and durable peace. How essential are these topics?
Okay, and so first of all, I think the United Nations and the world need to recognize that we have been one of the largest contributors to US both peacekeeping and peace enforcement operations, both of which are different, in their purpose and applications. And we are doing this despite the fact that our armed forces are busy in countering terrorists that are coming from abroad and some homegrown terrorists. That is an aspect, I think, which is very important for the world to know. Coming back to what you said, look, I think both these operations, whether it is peacekeeping or peace enforcement, they need, outside organizations, finances, weapons, equipment, which the United Nations does not possess in any form whatsoever. It has a very small, group of peacekeeping advisors. They have a small office there at the UN, and therefore they are totally dependent on the contributing forces. If you recall, in 1993, what happened in Somalia, when that was actually a combination of peacekeeping and peace enforcement operations, where Pakistan was in direct support of the United States, and there's a movie Black Hawk Down also made on that, where I think that was an example of close coordination in the conduct of security operation, and a lot of lessons were learned from that. Those lessons must be kept in mind, and one of the primary lessons learned from that operation and subsequent many other operations is that the environment where these operations are being conducted must be studied in advance. It must be known whether the people of those countries, the leaders of those countries are prepared to accept the UN peacekeepers or enforcers or not. Peacekeeping is to maintain the peace which has already been achieved through political efforts. But peace enforcement is different. You have to make sure that that peace is sustained even by the use of force, which is a very difficult undertaking, and it will require different kinds of forces and troops.
I think the whole perspective of such a meeting, General Saab, is to do exactly that, to prepare the front for the meeting in Germany, to further highlight all the different points that you have also pointed out, to make peacekeeping a more formidable, approach towards global peace and world peace. This is what we have been highlighting and wanting as a global community, and I hope that the UN peacekeeping and Pakistan's efforts also yield the right results. Thank you very much, General Raza Mohammad Khan Sahab, to have joined us. Thank you very much, Ahsan Hamid Durrani, Director Policy Research Center, to have joined us as well. We'll end with very quickly with our two last stories. The first on Donald Trump, who has frozen $2 billion worth of funds of the Howard University after the university rejected certain demands of the US administration. The Harvard University administration says that it is justified in what it is doing, but of course the Trump administration is adamant that it accept what they have proposed as conditionalities. Other universities in the past have also complied, and they wanted Harvard to comply with it, which it has not. Maybe there will be a change in the coming days. Finally, Toronto's 4th annual mass pillow fight happened. It saw a lot of strangers getting together and of course indulging themselves in the pillow fight, as you can see in the video. We always do that at home in families. As kids, we've done that as well, and this is a good approach, not only to maybe make new friends, but also to take out your stress and your anxiety one way or the other. It's a neat, a clean method to do that. Well, maybe other countries will follow suit. With that, we come to an end of today's Newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new story segments apparent to us in Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.